Alright, I don't know what's going on with the internet connection here. I got good data, but we are struggling to go live. Anyway, we are live, ladies and gents. This is The Plug, July 2019. The Plug, it's all about taking the opportunity to pause, stop, and say thank you. And in this edition, I have someone very particular that I want to speak to, a gentleman named Gary Vaynerchuck. Um, Before I get into the reports of how this month is going, I wanted to address Gary in particular. Gary Vaynerchuck is a worldwide known digital marketer and entrepreneur. And I needed to say thank you to Gary publicly because I've never done it before. I never thought it was appropriate to do it before. I never thought the business was big enough to do it before. But it has reached the point where I need to say thank you directly to Gary. So, Gary Vaynerchuck, I'm going to speak directly to you for a moment, and then I'm going to come back to the arm wrestlers that are here on the channel. So, Gary, I wanted to first of all say thank you for the fact that the principles that I've followed so far of gratitude and patience have been so ridiculously rewarding in my journey on the pound for pound arm wrestling channel. For 6 years, I was creating content and with the dream of this becoming a career. And for the first 4.5 years, nobody was watching. And I can tell you right now, my company made $34 in its first 4.5 years. But that was okay because I love doing it, and I know that was one of the principles that you always taught. The year and a half that has transpired since then has been life changing for me. In the last year and a half, this has become my career, and it almost feels like gratitude is cheating. It's a funny way of putting it, but I honestly feel like it's such an interesting fact. Just being grateful has felt like cheating. And what I mean by that is that the networking, the opportunities that have come from a source of gratitude has just been something that has changed pound for pound arm wrestling. And I am eternally grateful to you, Mr. Gary Vaynerchuck, for that. So, yeah, let's just leave it there. So, guys, back to the arm wrestlers here. I know you guys are watching. If you're wondering who on earth Gary Vaynerchuck is, go and check him out. But my business has been built on the back of a Gary Vaynerchuck model. I studied that man and how he became so successful within his businesses, and he taught the principles of gratitude and patience, and they were the ones that have resonated with me most. So go and drop this link for me on Gary Vaynerchuck's page. That would actually mean the world to me. If you enjoy pound for pound arm wrestling, go and do that. That'd be kick-ass, because I'd love to get this public thanks to Gary, but let's see if it happens. But anyway, guys, it has been such a spectacular month. The business pound for pound arm wrestling has had its most significant month in the history of its existence in terms of revenue. Let me tell you right now, this is really exciting. Last month, we grossed $13,000 in revenue. That is really big. I'll say it again. We grossed $13,000 in revenue last month, pound for pound arm wrestling proprietary limited. I don't know if you heard me just a moment ago say that in the first 4.5 years of me doing this, the company grossed $34, where in the last month we grossed $13,000. Guys, I can't thank you enough. That is crazy numbers. I never could have dreamed of being at that level, but with those numbers, we've been able to do some very, very significant things. More advertising is going on. More and more people are seeing the sport. I'm able to book more travel, not only for me, but I'm able to book future travel for a lot of people. I'm working right now on projects that are coming up for like October this year, and it's going to just continue to grow. And more athletes are going to be able to continue to be paid the way that they should be paid. And it is so exciting for me to see people like John Brzenk being paid for more and more involvement in the sport. One of my missions, as you guys know, was to get it to the point where the greats of our sport were being paid for the legacy that they've left behind. I feel like, to use a quote from Michael Todd about John Brzenk, I feel like John did his service, but he's not receiving his pension from the sport. And John's retired as an arm wrestler, and we don't want to keep dragging him back in to try to force him to compete. And instead, seeing him in the corner for my match at WAL, seeing him just being at tournaments. That's all John needs to do, and John gets, I think, a lot of enjoyment out of doing those things now. So to be able to get John being paid more and more is really, really, really exciting for me, and it's all happening. The really cool thing is this is all happening. Everything's building. Pound for pound arm wrestling's growing at a rate that I couldn't have imagined, and honestly, it's really just exciting. So I needed to give you guys all the update. Like I said, $13,000 made last month on pound for pound arm wrestling. That's across all forms of revenue. That's YouTube, that's Facebook, that's merchandise sales. Even I even consider the fee that WAL paid me. I consider that part of the company revenue. I don't take that money personally. I put that straight into the company so I can reinvest it. And the reason I consider that money part of the company money is because honestly, guys, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to even pull with WAL if you guys hadn't given me the platform to launch from. I know that WAL is more than just arm wrestling. They are a show. They need they need to have athletes that have influence and following. And I know I never would have got a shot on the WAL if it wasn't for you guys behind me, and the marketing weight that I was able to offer to WAL meant that they were willing to give me a go. So I very much consider the money made at WAL part of the revenue for the business for the month, and that money will 100% be reinvested back into the sport. As you guys know, if you've seen an episode of The Plug before, I like to first of all reflect on what's happened in terms of the money and the business decisions, and then look forward as to what's going to happen next. So right now in the business on pound for pound arm wrestling, I know I mentioned it last month. One thing that I have a really strong conviction towards is I need to lift the production value. Literally today I went and spent some money, some of this money that I've got from the month, on some more camera equipment. I've got better lighting coming. I got more tripods so I can set up better interviews with people. You're going to see interviews with Danny Tesh very soon before his 505 match, and they're going to look better than any interview you've ever seen from me before. And the big one is I'm looking at building a studio. Now, that'll just change everything. Building a studio, but in terms of the events that I'll be involved in, I'm a little bit up in the air at the moment as to what my next events will be. Travis and I are talking about something for really late in the year that we could do similar to the East Coast tour. That's one option that may come about. China is another option. I believe John is going to be heading to China. So I would love to be there with him. The only reason I wouldn't be there with him is if WAL calls me up to face Justin Bishop. And I hope that happens, man. I really, 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 I really want to take on Justin Bishop. If it happens this year, fantastic. If it doesn't happen this year, it'll certainly happen early next year. But I'll find out soon in probably the next couple of weeks whether that will happen in September. So if that does, I'll go there. If it doesn't, I'll be in China. But in October, it's likely, I guess I'll let the cat out of the bag right now, particularly for Australian and New Zealand arm wrestlers. In October, I am working very hard at the moment to try to get both Todd Hutchings and John Brzenk out here to Australia and put on something really, really special. And you guys will hear about that all very soon. But the cool thing is, guys, that all of this is possible because we've got the money in the bank now to invest into things like this. So it's just crazy. But guys, I'm going to keep it short because I am literally at the Brisbane Heavy Hitters Club right now. I'm about to go and do a training session with Danny Tesh, who's preparing for Quinlan Mendez. And yeah, it's going to be awesome. But guys, let me take the chance now to pause and have a look at some of the comments you guys have written, because I see that there's been a heap of them and I haven't been reading them because I just kind of didn't want to lose my train of thought. But let me have a look at some of the comments, see if there's any questions, and I'll answer quickly, and then we'll get going. All right, what do we got? Thank you for the compliments on that best fight of the year. I had an absolute blast of a time. Who do I think was better in their prime, John or Devon? I'm going to say John would have beaten Devon in his prime, I think, for sure. Prime John is greater than prime Devon. I agree. Alright, what do we got? What do we got? Thank you for everyone saying that I want to start a local pulling club. Yep, cool. Will there be a WAL 504 review from Brazank? I'm not certain of it. I don't think so at this stage. How do you think I would fare against John in my current state? I like that question. How would I fare against John? I'll tell you right now that I don't even think I could get to straps against John. If it was in the WAL, I could just get to straps by kind of time wasting, and then I'd be able to give the man a run for his money. But if I had to start outside of straps, which I would have to in all other circumstances, John would crush me. I cannot slip against that man. His cupping is so strong. His containment out of straps, if he wants to, is mega. Once we're in straps, John feels human to me, and I can. When John and I were in straps, I could get stops on him. I couldn't pin him, but I could get stops on him. But John would. John was in those training pools. John was giving me access to where I needed to be. The thing that John has amazing ability on is the ability to deny, and even at his retired level, his ability to deny feels off the charts. Like, it's crazy. I truly think he is well and truly every bit of the greatest arm wrestler of all time. So I would get murdered by John, even to this day. All right, what else we got? Question here. Did you ever have a point in those 4 years where you had any second thoughts about the channel due to time restraints in my personal life or the 9 to 5 job? I like that question. Thank you for that. No, I didn't ever have any times in that first 4.5 years where I wanted to hang it up. And the reason was I loved the sport so much and I loved the process. I knew in those first 4.5 years that my career would someday be arm wrestling. I was certain of it. During that, the thing that allowed me to do that was I genuinely enjoyed creating the content in that first 4.5 years more than I enjoyed watching the movies or going to the pub or watching Netflix or anything like that. It literally has been my source of enjoyment for the entire time I've been doing it. So, and that reflects back on Gary Vaynerchuck again. He always gave the advice of the best and most powerful thing you can do when you're trying to build a YouTube channel is to simply block out the number of subscribers and views and just keep creating good content. And good content that you love creating is the key. And for me, I loved arm wrestling, always have, right from the moment I found it. And creating content, even though I had no credibility in the early days, was very easy because of that. And so I continued, and eventually it arrived. And I always tried to remain humble. I always tried to remain gracious and be thankful for the opportunities I've had, the support from the people that were helping grow the channel. And that all cascaded into the point where it is today, and it's been an exponential growth, particularly in the last 1.5 years, 2 years. I mean, guys, I met John Brazank only a little over 14 months ago for the first time, and the things that have happened since then have been wild. So yeah, it's rewarding and worth it. Don't ever think that it's not, and it's all the cliches. They're all true. It takes a long time, and it comes through in the end. Alright, so guys, I'm going to leave it there. This is the plug for July. If there is one thing that I can ask of you all, as you know, I like to ask a favor at the end of the plug for each one. It's to take this video, to copy the share link, to look up Gary Vaynerchuck, and send it to him in an email. His email address is gary@vaynermedia.com. That's Gary at Vaynermedia, VAYNERMEDIA.com. I'd love for him to see this message. Like I said, I haven't ever thanked him publicly before because he's too big. He's a guy who has millions and millions and millions and millions of followers, and so getting through to him is near impossible. But if enough of us send him this email and title it "Arm Wrestling Thank You" or something like that, in capital letters. If you all did that, emailed Gary Vaynerchuk for me. Let's hammer him. Honestly, getting through to Gary in a public sense like this would open more doors. He's someone that I'm certain would open more doors. But personally, I just love to say thank you to the dude with no agenda at all, and because he was the person who really did shape my business, and it's made a massive, massive difference to me. So, guys, that is it for this month. Lots to come. Let's wait and roll the dice and see if WAL gives me this match with Justin Bishop, because if they do, it's going to be an exciting end to the year for me, and I can't wait. But even if they don't, it'll happen early next year at the worst. So yeah. In between now and then, let's enjoy Danny Tesh because he is going to rock WAL and he's going to dominate Quinlan Mendez. You heard it here. All right, guys, take care.